GM, once on the fast track to electric dominance, is now facing a major detour. With their Ultium battery platform facing hurdles and sales targets missed by a mile, the company is making a stunning U-turn. That's right, plug-in hybrids are back on the menu. But what led to this electrifying about-face, and what does it mean for the future of GM's electric dreams? Let's uncover this in today's video. Last week, both Ford and GM were gearing up to disclose their first quarter financial reports, poised for a showdown in the financial arena. Their task was to explain where the money was coming from. But it's not all about electric dreams. Nope, the real moneymaker seems to be those trusty gas-guzzling trucks. It's a thumbs up for the companies, but a bit downer for those hoping electric vehicles would be the golden ticket to profitability. Yes, companies are returning to hybrids, and GM is at the forefront. GM has hit a few bumps when rolling out its new electric vehicles using its Ultium battery platform, missing the mark by quite a bit on its goal of selling 400,000 EVs between 2022 and mid-2024. The company has had to change its game plan. Part of this new strategy involves bringing back plug-in hybrids. Although GM hasn't spilled the beans on which models will get the PHEV treatment, all signs point to the revamped Chevy Equinox. During a recent earnings call, GM CEO Mary Barra hinted at the company's plans to offer a plug-in hybrid powertrain on select models in the US. However, she kept tight-lipped about exactly which would sport a PHEV variant, and she didn't dish out any juicy details about the powertrain. However, Barra dropped a pretty big hint, mentioning that the technology is already in production in other markets. In 2019, Chevy Volt was the last plug-in hybrid GM offered in the US. This little hatchback had a good run for 9 model years across 2 generations. It outlived its Cadillac ELR cousin and even the short-lived Cadillac CT6 PHEV, which came from China and disappeared from the US market after 2018. But China will again be the go-to spot for GM's plug-in hybrid tech in the States. From a product perspective, let's talk about some big news from GM. They're making some changes to their electric vehicle EV strategy. Now, don't get it twisted, they're not ditching EVs altogether. They've put much cash into the Ultium program, so they're still in the game. But instead of going all in pure electric, they will start pushing plug-in hybrids more. According to GM CEO Mary Barra, they're going to start slapping the plug-in tech into some rides across North America. She's not mincing words about their commitment to ditching those tailpipe emissions by 2035. But until we get there, they're going to sprinkle in some of that plug-in magic to cut emissions while we wait for the charging stations to pop up like daisies. Barra is saying, hey, we're still serious about going green, but we're going to take a bit of a detour and bring along some plug-in pals for the ride. And it kind of makes sense, right? You get the best of both worlds, the clean vibes of an EV without the range anxiety. So, what's the deal with these plug-in hybrids anyway? Well, imagine your car's 2 power sources, a regular gas engine and a battery you can plug in at home. When cruising around town, it sips on electricity, keeping things nice and clean. But when you need that extra oomph for a road trip or hauling stuff, the gas engine kicks in like your trusty sidekick. Moreover, EV sales hit a speed bump at the end of 2023. Many car makers might have jumped the gun a tad, thinking people would be swapping gas for electric at warp speed. But dealers have been buzzing in GM's ear, asking for more hybrids. And guess what? GM's listening. They're gearing up to roll out some fresh plug-in hybrid models to meet the demand. According to the bigwigs at GM, they're going to time the launch just right to make sure these new rides help them hit those fuel economy and emissions targets. Smart move, right? But they're not starting from scratch. They'll borrow some tech that is already doing its thing in other markets. Now, you might be wondering exactly why there is a sudden shift. For starters, building up an EV infrastructure isn't exactly a walk in the park. It takes time, money, and a whole lot of planning. Plus, not everyone's ready to ditch their gas guzzlers just yet. So, by throwing plug-in hybrids into the mix, GM's playing it smart, catering to the green warriors and the practical folks who need a bit more convincing. And let's not forget the environmental perks. Sure, plug-in hybrids might not be as squeaky clean as pure EVs, but they're still a step in the right direction, cutting down on tailpipe emissions now while we wait for the EV revolution to kick in fully. That's what I call progress. Now, you might be itching to know when you can get your hands on one of these hybrids. Well, GM's playing it coy in the details for now, but good things come to those who wait, right? And if it means we're getting more eco-friendly options on the road, it's worth the patience. CEO Mary Barra is making it crystal clear these hybrids are going to slide into the lineup in a way that's easy on the wallet. After all, why reinvent the wheel when the tech's already up and running elsewhere? It's all about being savvy and efficient. Now, let's talk about GM's outlook for 2024. Despite some shifts in their vehicle game plan, they're feeling pretty optimistic. In fact, they're aiming for an operating profit between $12 to $14 billion this year, which is even juicier than the experts predicted. It's not too shabby considering they raked in $12.4 billion in profit last year. But it's not all smooth sailing. GM knows there are some hurdles ahead. With production getting back to normal, the days of sky-high demand and easy sales might be fading. They might have to throw discounts out there to keep those new wheels rolling off the lots. Still, it's not all doom and gloom. While adjusting to this new normal, they're cranking out their bread and butter, those big old trucks and SUVs that keep the cash flowing. Now, let's talk about China. It's been a bumpy ride for foreign car makers there lately, but GM's not backing down. Despite the challenges, they see some serious growth potential in the Chinese market. CEO Mary Barra dropped a hint saying there's a spot for them to shine. According to Barra, they're sticking to what works, those trusty trucks and SUVs that keep their fans coming back for more. These gas guzzlers are like the company's backbone, holding things steady until the full switch to EVs is ready to roll. But they're not rushing things. Barra admitted they might have hoped to be further along the EV road by now, but they're taking it slow and steady. Now, GM has many people eagerly awaiting for their EV pickups, with over 100,000 reservations and orders in the pipeline for 2024 and 2025. But if the winds of demand change, they're ready to pivot. Depending on what the customers want, they have the flexibility to crank out more gas models or switch gears and focus on EVs. Barra is nodding to the environmental perks of EVs, but she's also keeping it real. We're not quite there yet with the whole charging infrastructure thing, so they will be strategic about where they roll out these electric rides. GM CFO Paul Jacobson is also not sugarcoating it. The EV market's hitting a few bumps. Jacobson saying they're ready to roll with the punches, switching between traditional gas guzzlers and electric rides as needed. They have the manufacturing muscle to keep inventory in check and drum up demand, all while keeping prices steady. But what about these plug-in hybrids they keep teasing? The people at the Detroit Free Press are itching for details. They want to know which models will get the hybrid treatment. GM's lineup currently includes SUVs and pickup trucks with gas engines. Are they going to dust off the old Voltec PHEV system from the Volt days? The Free Press isn't buying into the hype around plug-in hybrids though. They're calling it like it is. Adding a second energy source ain't cheap or simple. And let's be real, GM's been exciting their Ultium batteries and electric motors for a reason. They've been eyeing the EV game for a while since they dipped their toes in the PHEV pool with the Volt way back when. Michelle Krebs from Cox Automotive ain't pulling punches either. She's been skeptical about going all in on EVs without a backup plan. Because let's face it, the road to electrification is a bumpy one. Now, let's talk numbers. Plug-in hybrids might be gaining some traction, with sales up over 50% in 2023, but they're still small fry compared to traditional gas guzzlers and full-on EVs. We're talking less than 2% of total vehicle sales in the US. EVs, on the other hand, they're carving out a bigger slice, making up over 7% of sales. So, what's the bottom line? GM's got its eyes on the prize in 2024. They're expecting some fat profits, even if they have to navigate choppy waters. With their sights set on China and their trusty trucks revving, they're ready to tackle whatever the year throws. That's all for today's video. Share your thoughts on this with us in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe.